Welcome to the 15 Red podcast on this Friday, the 12th of March 2021 in Burton-on-Trent, just gone 6 o'clock. And we're here on the 15 Red podcast with Scott MacArthur in Northern Ireland. Good evening, Scott.
Very good evening to you, Graham.
Yeah, are you safe and everything well for you?
Yes, everybody's in good health here on the other side of the Irish Sea, so everything's good and the weather's rubbish, but nonetheless.
Have you recovered from last night's amazing interview?
It'll take me about a month to get all that information processed, but no, that was tremendous last night.
Yeah, and same question to you, Mike, in Vancouver. How are you? Good morning.
Fantastic. Thank you. You?
Brilliant last night, wasn't it? Fantastic.
Yeah, excellent interview.
Of course, we had Chris Henry on last night, the snooker coach from Belgium. He was live from Belgium, and it was nice that we got to say hello to his wife as well, or his girlfriend or wife, partner, should we say. That was really good. And tonight, in a few minutes' time, we'll get Jamie Curtis-Barrett on the line, all the way from Cleethorpes, which is where I'm from originally, well, near Scunthorpe area. So that'll be great. But first of all,
Belgium to Cleethorpes. How exotic.
It's great, romantic place, brilliant. Blinking, you miss it though, Scott. You know, I mean, it's all right. It's all right when you go there once, but when you live near there, it gets like, oh, we're going there again. You know, but it's a nice little seaside town. Have you ever? Do you know where it is? Do you know what it is, Mike?
I'm not familiar now.
It's a seaside sort of town resort. You know.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, it's all right. Once in a while, small doses.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get to Jamie in a minute. But any news from you guys today that you picked up?
I got some information on the world qualifiers. So
Okay.
basically, there's going to be 16 elite amateurs invited, or selected, I should say, based on their performance. And it's going to start 2 days earlier. So it will start on April 5th to April 14th. And I believe it said that it's due to broadcasting. They want to broadcast as many matches as possible.
Yes.
That was the reason for the 2 extra day add-on.
Okay.
And then the first 3 rounds will be best of 11s, and then the final round will be a best of 19.
Same format as last year.
Same format as last year, exactly. And all of the 10-day qualifying will be televised on Eurosport and Matchroom Live.
Yeah.
And the draw will be announced. The draw for the qualifying will be announced right after the Tour Championship.
I thought you was going to say right after this podcast. Then you just felt like you could say that, Mike, couldn't you? Right after this.
Something, yeah.
Of course, if that happened, of course, we'd be covering it without a doubt.
Of course we would, but no, we're not that well established yet, unfortunately.
Good enough. So we'll get Jamie Barrett on the line. Here we go, our special guest for tonight, and we're going to have a chat with him.
And bear in mind, once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is live broadcasting, so anything can go right or wrong. Don't blame us.
It certainly can. I hope it goes all right. I'm sure it will. Just posting it out there. So yeah, here we go. Hopefully Jamie will come on in a second.
Also, just a quick news note. Marco Fu will be getting a provisional tour card.
I thought he was going to say provisional driving license. What's he want that for?
That could be a question.
After the maximum of the Scottish Masters in 2000.
So he'll be back on next season. So.
Okay.
Well, that's only fair because although he's 72 in the world, he hasn't played a match.
Exactly. He was 5th at one time. He was
super.
Really good.
Yeah. Great player. Yep. Good to see him back.
Yep.
When I heard about it, I posted his maximum at the Masters on the group.
Oh, did you? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to have a look. Excellent.
Tremendous. And I also posted, by the way, all of John Higgins' 11 maximum breaks.
Oh boy, that's a long.
Oh yeah, in one video. Was
Yeah.
it in one video? Yeah. I think I saw that one, Scott.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw that one.
Have you got any Pro Series updates, Graham? Just while we wait.
I haven't currently, no. I'll keep checking it though. I'll keep updating it as we go through. No, not yet.
But just to tell you that Ben Wollaston and Fergal O'Brien got through Group F yesterday.
Oh,
okay.
So they're through. They're through to the next stage.
Excellent.
I don't think.
The next stage actually starts on St. Patrick's Day, the 17th of March.
Okay, very good. So,
I'm still waiting for Jamie to see the call.
oh, that's fine.
So, anything else you want to discuss, guys, while we await his arrival?
I was just going to discuss the. Oh, here we go.
Here he is.
Here he is.
Evening.
Good evening, Jamie. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, not bad. It's good to have you aboard, sir. It's really good to have you on here, finally.
Thank you.
So we've got Scott in Northern Ireland with the glasses, and Mike in Vancouver in Colombia.
Evening, Mike. Or morning, did I say?
Yeah.
Yeah. Morning over there, yeah. So we're going to hand you over to Scott first, who's got the first question for you.
Well,
okay.
Jimmy, what was your introduction to the game of snooker? How did you get into it, first of all?
Well, I was 4 years old. I got bought a table from my granddad, and then just carried on playing, really. And at 10 years old, I was taken to the Ray Edmonds Snooker Centre in Grimsby, and sort of just continued playing and took it from there, really.
Oh yeah. So who were your boyhood influences and snooker influences?
Growing up, I mean, a lot of people sort of look at Ronnie, but my sort of era was Jimmy White. He was my idol. But one player that I sort of really liked watching was Ken Doherty.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, very good.
The darling of Dublin, as he was called.
That's him, yeah.
That's the man. That's the man. Yeah, great player, Ken, of course. You know, that's. And have you got any other influences from other sport rather than snooker?
I like watching tennis. Obviously, Federer. He was sort of an idol, and look at like a Tiger Woods. But I don't really go sort of like into any other sport than that, really.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, those are good players.
Yeah. So, Jamie, you were speaking to me before about, you know, how being a single dad has affected your practice. And of course, with the lockdown as well. Do you find it a struggle at the moment with that sort of thing?
Yeah, I have done. I mean, obviously, it's been sort of 5 years now that I've been on my own with the two children. So going away to competitions and things, I've had to rely quite a lot on my mum. So I was sort of practicing around when the children were at school. So I was able to get my 5-6 hours in each day. But then like on a weekend and things, I wasn't, or on an evening, I wasn't able to practice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But certainly like with lockdown as well, I've been quite fortunate where we've been able to go into the odd club, like because we're playing in professional events, with my Stuart Carrington, another professional from Grimsby. So we have had that, but we've not been getting in as much as what we would like to be.
No.
Yeah.
It's difficult for us all in many different ways, but snooker has really kept me going through this, you know, as a fan watching it.
Sorry, Scott, I've lost you there.
Oh, I was just saying snooker has really got me through this lockdown, having so much of it on to watch.
I think
Yeah,
what he's saying is the lockdowns, the snooker's got him through the lockdown, being a fan, being able to watch it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you've got to if you're a snooker fan or a player of any kind, you've got to take your hats off to, obviously, Jason Ferguson and Barry Hearn and the things that they've actually put in place to let the sport continue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's
a fantastic job.
He is doing a fantastic job. Of course, to get the World Championship played last year was a big thing, wasn't it?
It was massive. And obviously running Q School alongside that as well and having extra staff, obviously all in Sheffield, running two sort of big events from the amateur side and obviously the biggest event in the sport over those 2 weeks. I mean, it worked wonders what they've done.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a bit of a disappointment not to have the fans in just as it was getting opened up again, and then it got shut down again. I mean, I know Barry was very disappointed.
Yeah, I think he was disappointed with that. But to be honest, my personal opinion was that I think he was let down a little bit by the government because the guidelines weren't that clear.
Yeah.
And I could never understand that you could have them in on the first day, not have anyone for the next sort of 16 days, but then having them in for the final.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit. It did muddy the water slightly.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it did. But Jamie, just going back to the second to the, you've been a single dad and you find it struggling practicing. What else do you find a struggle on the tour, to try and get in the world rankings? Because you're not on the world rankings. You're sort of a floating player, am I right?
I am at the moment, yeah. Obviously, 5 years ago, I went to Q School and qualified. So obviously, I spent my 2 years on the tour. I then dropped off. Just obviously, it came down to ranking points. I was like 2 or 3 games away from staying on the 1 year list. And then I didn't really have a very good season the following year at Q School. I really struggled, but I think that was because my personal life sort of had a bit of an effect where I just wasn't putting the hours in, and I had to dedicate a little bit more time to the children.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, like I say, this time round, obviously everyone was quite sceptical whether Q School was going to go ahead. It did, and I played really well for 2 weeks. I finished 5th on the ranking list overall, so just missed out. But then I've been fortunate enough to obviously play as a top-up player in, I think I've played 8 or 9 events this year. So yeah, it's nice to sort of keep your hand in, but then obviously slight disappointment today that I thought I was going to get in the World Championships, given that there was going to be 16 qualifiers, and unfortunately not even being looked at has been one of them to get in.
Wow.
Oh dear.
That's very unfortunate.
Yeah.
What's it based on? Is it performance or is there some other?
No, I mean, I don't really know what the criteria is. I mean, obviously, when we was to play in Q School, everyone signed a contract to say that there were going to be any event that fell below 128 players, the top-up list would be used, which it has been used all season. But then I'm not sure what the criteria was for the World Championships. But knowing that there was going to be 16 top-up places, that was sort of at the forefront of my mind, that if I was going to get in any event this season, it would have been that one. And it's sort of, I've played in every other event than this. But I mean, there's still a possibility that I may get in it, but I would have, because I'm number 5 on the list, 5 professionals obviously would have to either not enter or whether they test positive for COVID or such. So I'm still there on a standby list, but it's not likely to happen, to be honest.
No, fair enough.
Well, I hope it happens for you, mate. I really do.
Yeah, well, it'd be nice. I mean, it's every player's dream to play in the World Championships. I mean, when I've played in it previously, it's the best tournament, and it's every player's dream to try and get to the Crucible. So to work so hard for a year and be probably one of the most promising players over a 2-week period at Q School, to then not get the reward to play in the World Championships, it's been a little bit frustrating today, but it's sport. That's what happens. So you just have to knuckle down, get on with it. And I've been through enough. I've been through enough in life to sort of realise that it's only a game. And for each and every one of those people that have been selected to play in that today, I wish them well. I wish them all the best.
Yeah. As Rob Walker would say, said with true grace.
Yeah, thank you.
Hopefully, well, you just like I say, Jamie, keep working hard, and you'll get in there next year, mate.
Yeah, well, that's the plan. I mean, obviously, like I said earlier about struggling with the practice and things, I've managed to have a table put in my house now, only sort of like 3 or 4 months ago. But that's more for my son than me.
I've noticed.
He's a bit of a whiz kid.
Freddie's a little hot shot, isn't he?
He is. Yeah, he's surprised me really, because I mean he's only just turned 7, and he absolutely loves the game. But I think because I've sort of he's not known any other than seeing his dad grow up around sort of other players, and like when I was on the tour, we had the likes of Jimmy and Ken and Mark Williams, and they've all been to my house, and he's like a little 7-year-old. He's running around like it's Christmas Day every day to him.
Bless him. Yeah. Who is your favourite player right now? Would you say who is your mate on the tour? Who would you say?
My best friend on the tour is Alan Taylor.
Yeah.
Okay.
The man who had the highest break in qualifying last year, of course.
Yeah, but knowing what he plays like, I'm sure a lot of that was flukes.
we appreciate
that. Now I've grown up with Alan from being sort of 10-year-old. We played in all the junior ranks together. We still have a standing joke now. I can always remember playing him in the quarter-finals of the UK. I think it was the under-19s or under-21s, and it was 2-2. And he fluked the green, the brown, and the blue to beat me. And, it's still a standing joke now, 25 years on.
On Monday, so it's sort of dominate conversation, guys. But I just wanted to ask you, on Monday we had your mate Gareth Allen on.
Yeah, Gareth,
and he said at Q School, just to get your insight on it, he said it's a real graft there.
Yeah, it is, and it's the hardest way to get on the tour. I mean, what you've got to consider is you've got players that have dropped on the tour that have been seasoned pros for a number of years, and then you've got obviously the middle-aged sort of players that have always wanted that dream, and then you've got all the young guns coming through that know that Q School's the only way to obviously try and make a career of snooker.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's all about going there, using all your vast experience. But at the same time, it's like you can't play a natural game because there's so much at stake. It's like if I've done it myself when I've been on the tour, and you've got a brown to the middle, you take it on if you was obviously playing in a pro match. But at Q School, there's that much at stake, you end up rolling up behind the brown.
Yeah.
It's completely different mindset as well, because there's so much at stake for everyone.
So
And
do you think if they restructure the lower ranks, that it would be better for everyone? Because we've had this discussion before about restructuring, making divisions, or making it so it's a little bit better. Do you think there's a solution?
I think the only way that you can move forward with that is if you was to do 2 tours of 64, and then possibly like maybe take what would you have if you kept 40, if you kept 16 drop off each year, so you'd have obviously top 48 after 2 seasons, and then your bottom 16 would drop off, and then your secondary tour would have 16 qualifiers.
Like promotion
but then also it's like how you still need some sort of scheme for younger players coming through.
yeah,
Rather than just breaking up the 1 to 8 into 2 tours. So I think I think basically what you need to do with that secondary tour is top 16 would go on to the main tour, and then the bottom 16 would come off, and then maybe 32 players off the secondary tour would drop off into like Q School, and 32 then get on, and then sort of like work your way through like divisions like football, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all for obviously promoting the sport and stuff all around the world, and like you look at all these young lads that's coming through who's got the opportunity to play in the World Championships, and you think to yourself, it's good for the sport because it's getting noticed globally.
yeah,
But also at the same time, I don't think that it's fair that you've not got that many players coming through now, and they're giving tour cards to people who are winning like under 21s, under 17s. And for me, this game's all about craft. And I feel that you need to serve quite a considerable amount of time as a mini apprenticeship.
yeah.
Because young lads are getting that opportunity, they're winning junior events, they're getting the tour cards, but snooker is the only sport that you're actually paying to go to work. You're not guaranteed no money.
Yeah.
And I mean, prior to Barry Earn obviously getting rid of all the entry fees, I had to pay entry fees when I was on the tour. So you had that on top of obviously travel, food, accommodation. If you was to play in every tournament, you could be looking at best part of maybe £15,000 to fund your season, and not even guaranteeing yourself any money back.
Yeah,
that's absurd.
That's madness.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I know that it's like they do this. I think they do something similar in the darts, which is obviously also run through Barry Earn and Matchroom and things.
Yeah.
But my personal view on it, being a player on the tour and then trying to get back on the tour, and certainly for a young player who's maybe just, I don't know, say 17, come out of school, and their main aim in life is to be a professional snooker player, but then also at the same time, they're putting their life on hold, like potentially going to college, achieving any grades or anything like that for 2 years at minimum, and then potentially not winning any money, and then starting later in life again by having to go to college or try and sort of build on something. Whereas I think if you had like 30 events in the season and you were guaranteed, even if you were guaranteed a minimum of £500 an event, at least you're actually covering your costs of what you would be paying out.
Yeah. But this point about paying or serving an apprenticeship, I mean, even O'Sullivan said it before he won the world title. He said, I wasn't ready to win it. I had to serve an apprenticeship first. So, you know, the point you make about these young fellas not knowing what hard graft is like is actually a good one, because, I mean, no disrespect to any of the youngsters, but, you know, if you don't have any life experience, you don't know what the real world looks like.
No, you're right there. I mean, it's tough, and like you say, if you're coming out of school and you're sort of thrown in at the deep end, there's obviously the other factor as well is that if you're under 18, then you obviously have to have a parent guardian with you at all events that you're playing in, and it's sort of like it doesn't just have an effect on your life financially, but if one of your parents are having to give up time or their job to obviously try and fund your snooker career, then and you're not earning any money, it causes a massive backlog and an issue for everyone else.
Absolutely. Yeah. I totally understand that point.
Yeah, no, that's
So,
crazy.
So for youngsters just starting up now, what advice would you give them? Would you say take the game up or not?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm always going to be biased because I mean, I've grown up in snooker halls and I've done it all. Well, probably the best part of my life, really. And I've had some highs and I've had some lows. But when you reflect on all the highs and the lows, I've had a fantastic time.
I'll be back in a moment.
Okay. I've had some fantastic times. Travelled all over the world and been places that I would probably never go to. But for me, the game's hard, and if you have not got that craft, or you're not willing to learn, or you're not willing to give up maybe 4 or 5 years of your life to try and succeed, then it's pointless even trying it.
Okay. Fair enough.
And that's my honest, genuine opinion. And I mean, it's like I look at Freddie as my own son, and I think to myself, well, I know what it takes to get where I've got. Never mind being a top 16 player. And I just generally think to myself, is that something that I would want for him? But I've sort of taken that reflection. I know we're a long way off because he's only 7. But if that's something that he wants to do, then I'd let him choose that path himself. But I would support him.
Yeah.
But growing up, like obviously, I live with my nana and my granddad because my parents split up when I was a young age. And when my nana and granddad was living off the pension, they couldn't fund my snooker. I can remember going to tournaments where my granddad would say, right, Jamie, you've got £20 here and it's £10 entry for your tournament. That's £10 to go on the train. And I can remember literally going from one tournament to the next, telling myself that I had to win a minimum of £20 to be able to fund the tournament the following week. And if I never won any money at the tournament the following week, then I wasn't able to go.
Yeah, it's a difficult situation, isn't it?
It is. But like I say, when I say about learning your craft, children nowadays seem to sort of get a lot more handed on a plate. Whereas I served my apprenticeship knowing that if I never won, then I would never have been able to obviously follow the next step.
Yeah, that's fair enough. It's looking at it from far, it just looks totally. Yeah, I wouldn't encourage my son like go do this. It would have to be of his own choice.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And like I say, when you're paying and it's costing you a lot of money, I mean, especially if you're a parent who's got maybe 2 or 3 children at home, and they're all doing different kinds of things that like football or dancing, maybe. It can have a knock-on effect.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I just got to ask you as well, Jamie. I was when I started talking to you a couple of weeks ago. You was playing at Gibraltar, and you stepped into the arena against Mark Allen. And how was that experience for you going into? I know you've played in other big matches before, but what's it like playing someone like Mark Allen's quality?
well, you're up against it straight away, really.
Yeah.
I mean, me and Mark are really good.
I've got to say, Jamie, I was rooting for you in that game as well. I was like, come on, man.
Yeah,
I know it's difficult, but this man here, who's just come back, he's a Northern Irish man, and he's a Mark Allen fan, so I think he brought that up until he kept that up a bit earlier.
No, me and Mark are really good friends, both on and off the table. He's a fantastic guy. I've got a lot of respect for him.
Yeah.
But
sorry about that, gents. One can't pretend to be deaf in these situations.
No, you're all right. Don't worry.
But no, going back to Mark, I mean, like I say, I've got a lot of respect for him. He's a class act. He's proven that from what he's achieved in the game already.
Yeah.
But going out there and playing him, it didn't really faze me. I've played him before in a couple of events, and I knew I had to be on top of my game. And to be honest, early on, I felt like we sort of like went toe to toe really in a safety battle.
Yeah, the first frame you could have won that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the thing where I struggled most is when you're practicing or you're playing in the back room in the cubicles, the table then going out into the main arena, it's probably 6 to 7 foot faster. It's a lot warmer out there because of obviously the TV lighting. And not that I'm sort of complaining about it, but I mean, Ronnie and other players have mentioned it before about maybe having like a 10-minute practice session on the table prior to obviously playing the match, because Mark's playing on those conditions all year round, week in, week out.
Yeah.
And it did really catch me out. And when obviously you're not putting in the hours in practice at home as well, you sort of you feel like you're 2-0 down before you even step out into the arena.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
So as a player, what impact does the crowd have on a match?
That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, it's been really strange, really, because although there's no crowd there, when you have sort of like the clapometer and things, I mean, as a player, when you're in that zone, you don't really, me personally, don't really acknowledge the fact that there's anyone there. But then on the flip side of it, when I've played at venues where, I mean, like the UK Championship as an example, when it's been a packed house, and it's just like you can literally hear everything. You can hear like someone on the front seat opening the goodies or the sweets. But I personally, I think that like as a higher ranked player, I think they thrive off the crowds more than they do without, and I think that's why you've probably seen a lot more lower ranked players doing a lot better. And as an example, I mean, another great friend of mine, Jordan Brown.
Yeah, exactly. Another Northern Irishman.
Yeah, but how would he have handled the situation when you've got maybe 500 people rooting for Ronnie to win, breathing down your neck when you're trying to win your first title?
I know.
Well, we asked that to Chris Henry last night, and Chris said if there was a crowd there, he probably wouldn't have won it. So, like, you've just reflected on that.
Yeah, I mean, Chris works with a lot of players sort of on the mental and the technical side of the game. So I think, true reflection, what he said, I think that's fair.
Yeah. Now, just a quick question about Ronnie. In 4 finals, he's lost them all. Do you think he's put too much pressure on himself in them all? Or
I don't know really. I think he's just, in all honesty, I think he's come up against somebody, I mean, who's played well on the day. But I think now, looking at the game and how it is, I think everyone previously used to think, oh no, I'm playing Ronnie O'Sullivan. And Jordan was a perfect example of that, playing him in the Welsh. He went out there, he played what was in front of him, and I don't think he was bothered whether it was Ronnie O'Sullivan or if it was someone down the local club.
Yeah.
He put everything, all his eggs in one basket and went for that. And I think that's what a lot of players do now against Ronnie. Whereas previously, I think he sort of, because of what he's achieved in the game, he intimidated them.
Yeah, and we was talking about this the other day, and Chris was mentioning what Ronnie's like sometimes. He gets in people's heads and stuff, you know, and he did it to Ding, he did it to Mark Allen at Champions. That was it's not really fair to do that in that position, because Mark wasn't doing anything wrong at that point.
No, I mean, without being there or without knowing what's being said, I mean, I wouldn't really like to comment on that. But at the end of the day, I mean, I've never sort of had any conversation or even sort of spoken to Ronnie or acknowledged each other even when we was on the tour. But he's a big player in the game, and it's sort of like the question is can snooker survive without Ronnie O'Sullivan? And personally, I think it can.
Yes, so do I.
I think a lot of people who are, well, not just Ronnie fans, but who have followed the game for such a long time, they probably think the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just another interesting thing that Ronnie said about, because you're on the lower side of the game, compared to where Ronnie is. He, you know, when he said about I'll have to lose an arm and a leg to drop out top 50. These amateurs that are coming in, did that sort of affect you in any way? Did that hurt you? What Ronnie was saying?
No, doesn't hurt me at all, to be honest. I mean,
well, I was just going to get your opinion on it.
I mean, if anything, I mean, I looked at that comment from a psychological point of view, and I think to myself, well, okay then, Ronnie, you put yourself in my shoes as a player, being a single dad looking after 2 kids, you've lost your wife to an illness, you're trying to practice, you're going all around the world and you're putting in your best performance. Now let him step in my shoes for a week and see what he would achieve then.
Totally, yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, that's a good analogy of that.
And that's
in a nutshell. That's right there, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's the way I reflect on it, really.
Yeah, it's like Jordan said after his Welsh win. That comment did fire me up, but at the time Ronnie was genuine and congratulating him.
Yeah, and like Graham said earlier on, I mean, certainly in the interviews that he's done post-match, he has spoken with grace towards his opponent, and I don't think everyone's seen that side to Ronnie O'Sullivan in previous years. I mean, I've known like Ronnie I was there myself when I watched him play Hendry in the UK years ago. 4-1 down, missed the ball, shook Hendry's hand, walked out the arena.
I remember that.
Were you there in York that day?
But it was, yeah. I was there watching that game. But yeah, sort of everyone was sort of taken by surprise. But once again, something like that shocked the snooker world, and everyone was talking about Ronnie O'Sullivan. So.
Exactly, yeah. But he's done some crazy things in the past like that. He's always that kind of character, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, when you look, you've got 128 players on the tour, and each one of them have got their own characteristics. So yeah. I think because Ronnie says what he says, and because he's achieved so much, he's on that pedestal. So everyone looks up to him and thinks, oh, Ronnie this, Ronnie that. But then, like you say, we're like the likes of Mark Allen. Mark's very outspoken and says what he says, but he's achieved a lot in the game.
Yes.
But when you look at someone like Ronnie, or you look at Mark Allen's always under that radar.
Yeah. Like,
and I don't know why that is.
These 2 guys were arguing with me and calling me biased, but I do think Mark Allen can win a world title.
genuinely, I think Mark Allen can win 5 world titles. I think I genuinely think, I'm not just saying this because he's a friend and I speak to him and stuff, but the talent that he's got, I think he's probably the most underrated player in the top 16.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean,
yeah.
Look at that Champion of Champions run. Scott Donaldson 4-2. Judd Trump, Ronnie O'Sullivan, Judd Trump, and Neil Robertson. I mean, what sort of runs that?
Yeah, I mean that week that he played some unbelievable snooker, and
He did.
when you can use that as an example there, that he's beat 3 world-class players back to back, and then you look at maybe someone that's won a title. I don't know, say maybe Judd as an example. He's won a title and he's probably beaten maybe 3 players outside the 64 en route to that title, but that gets acknowledged more than what Mark's achieved. So
yeah, totally agree with you.
I think it's the whole perspective on snooker fans and more so the media and the tabloids as well on how they perceive things.
Yep.
Yeah. Going back to your career a bit, Jamie. What's your highlight, would you say, of your whole circuit tour so far?
Well, I've got 2 really. Scott might like this one, but I beat Matt Selt in Northern Ireland, and I played him on the Tuesday evening, and I was on the TV table. And there was 2 TV tables. I was on the live stream, and on the TV table was Mark Allen against Mark Joyce. And the crowd that night were just unbelievable. It was like walking out and the way I can describe it was like putting a snooker table in the middle of Wembley pitch with that many fans just shouting Mark Allen. And like when you go back to the crowds being in the venues, it's like, although you've got that dividing wall between the 2 tables, and you're there, and you can hear everything the other side and nothing happening your side. But honestly, it was unbelievable. And then the other time I played, it was my first TV game actually. I played Joe Perry in the UK at York, and unbeknown to me, my dad had arranged a bus trip for everyone from the local club. I'd gone down there a couple of days prior to like practice and stuff, and when I walked out into the arena, Arthur Grimsby was there. So yeah,
I bet you was like really taken back.
Oh, I was, yeah, and it was good. And I think what was really nice about that evening was like there was family, there was friends, and I was 4-0 down at the interval. And I went into that interval, and my friend who comes around all over with me, been my best friend since we was kids. And he said to me, he was like, "Look, Jamie," he was like, "you put yourself under pressure. You play in front of them people week in, week out in the club." He said, "He's just won 4 frames." He went, "What's stopping you winning 4?" And I went back out there, and the next thing I know, I'm 4-3 down, and it's a real good game, and everyone's sort of getting more involved as we went along. But I ended up losing the game, but it was really, really good experience. It really was.
Yeah, fantastic.
And the other thing that I liked about being on the tour was travelling to different countries.
Yeah.
And
I was just going to ask you, what was your favourite country to play
in? I would say Malta.
Oh yeah.
Or Latvia. Riga Masters, that was good.
Yeah.
People are really pleasant, really welcoming. When I was out in Malta, obviously I'm really good friends with Tony Drago, so I spent quite a lot of time with him.
Yeah.
And it was nice because it was sort of like, away from snooker, I was able to sort of do different things on the island as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was good. It was good.
Excellent.
Now I just have the pleasures of driving to Milton Keynes.
Yeah. Since you brought up Tony Drago,
we're absolutely sick of Milton Keynes, aren't we?
Right, bro.
Yeah, it's good that obviously Barry's been able to obviously come up with some sort of terms and conditions to hold it there. It's been fantastic because I can't really say that I know of any other venue in the UK that's got those sort of facilities with an hotel and everything built in on one site.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, it's been good, and I think as well. I could be wrong in saying this, but I think a lot of like the vaccinations and the main sort of laboratory for COVID, I think that's actually based down in Milton Keynes as well.
It is.
So,
Yeah.
Okay.
So getting the tests and everything processed, it's sort of everything's all sort of worked as a real good plan.
Right.
But from what I gather, everything's moving to Sheffield next month. So
yeah,
World Championships, and then I think they're going to remain there at the English Institute of Sport for the Q School event.
Yeah. But you brought up Tony Drago, so I'm going to throw this question at you. He made the fastest century on TV at 3 minutes and 33 seconds. But who was his opponent that day?
Oh, that's a good question. Was it Peter Ebdon?
No.
I don't know then.
John Higgins. Really?
I've never known that.
I was just going to say, Jamie, don't worry about it. We have to suffer it every night. Mr. Statistical down there.
I think it's fascinating, and like people like yourselves who involve yourself in the game, and obviously the love for the sport. My personal opinion is that there's not enough of people that's got that commitment like you have out there. And to obviously ask me to come on here, I see it as an honour. I really do.
Oh, thank you. Well, I started off doing the podcast, Jamie, because I wanted to start doing something that nobody else was doing on Facebook and that, because you look at other snooker sites on Facebook and they don't really do what we do, podcasting, going live. They just post results or old matches. They don't actually do what's current. And I thought, well, we'll start that. And then I found these two, and I thought, well, great, this is. And then we started getting people like Gareth Allen, yourself, Chris Henry, Dave Hendon. We've got coming up on Tuesday. That'll be an interview. That's a stats battle going on with these two.
I'm gonna say, I bet Scott's been writing his questions overnight.
Oh, dear. No, he doesn't have to write them. They're on his head.
Oh.
Yeah. Do you know Dave?
I've met him a couple of times when I've played in the Championship League at Milton Keynes. He was there with Phil Yates.
Yeah.
So sort of just had like dinner around the table together.
Another rack, Phil Yates.
Yeah.
He's a proper rack, that.
He is.
Yeah. I was going to find the question that Scott didn't know from Phil Yates, if we could get him on here.
Well, have a word with Dave. I'm sure he's got his number.
Yeah, we'll ask him. I'm sure he'll give us that.
Have you ever done any work with Chris Henry at all, seeing as though we were speaking to him last night?
I've not actually done any work with him personally on a one-to-one, but sort of last year where I played the Challenge Tour when obviously I didn't do very well at Q School, but I played the Challenge Tour. I was out in Belgium where we played at a club where Chris was, and he's invented these they're like ping pong balls, but they're weighted.
Yeah.
And it's like a training exercise. And I've actually had a go with them myself, but I've not actually done any work with Chris. But one of the lads who I was out there with, he got a set of these balls, brought them home, and I've had an hour or two with them, and it does work. But I think personally that if I was to get on the tour again, I think that's something that I would really consider, going, speaking to him. Not so much sort of on the technical side, but like the mental side, and like being under pressure and things like that. But because a lot of people have obviously asked me that, but I suppose in a way, when you say, "Oh, what's pressure?" What is pressure? You put yourself under pressure. You create your own pressure.
Well, I'd say 17 all final black.
Yeah,
that's pressure.
Yeah. Well, I can always remember one question that was asked to me when in an interview following a game, and it was like, "How do you handle pressure?" Now, given that obviously prior to being on the tour and things like that, I was in the police force.
Okay.
And pressure to me is when someone pulls a knife out on you.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
So potting a black at 17 all.
But I say it's a different kind of pressure, though, isn't it? Like somebody pulling a knife at you, obviously, to a snooker game.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And the thing is as well, I mean, when you're out there, and as silly as it may sound, but as an example where you mentioned the Mark Allen game last week, there was a couple of chances that I had that I didn't really take. And you sat there in your chair and you're watching Mark make 70 and 70 like in one frame.
Yeah. That was a record, by the way, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. But it's fantastic to watch. And although you're there and you're learning, and there's only the referee, you, Mark, and 2 cameramen in there, you know that there's probably 200 million people watching worldwide, and you just want the ground to swallow you up.
Yeah. What do you actually, I mean, John Parrott was asked that question. What do you actually learn from sitting in your seat watching the guy clear up?
To play a better safety shot.
He said the first answer I can give is not suitable because it's a family show. But
well, John should know pretty well. He did get beat 18-3 in a world final.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably spent 3 sessions sat down watching. But no. I mean, I'm a firm believer in no matter how old you are or what standard you're playing to, you're always learning.
Yep.
And
I mean, I've probably played everyone in the top 16 apart from Higgins or Ronnie, and watching how they strike the ball, it's just so, and being there so close up, it's just effortless.
Yeah.
But then I know myself that if I was to video myself and go and play in the club or whatever, or watch myself rerun on TV, I know that when I strike the ball, I hit the ball effortless as well. But the difference is, and the fine lines, is that they just do it more consistently.
Yeah.
And that's basically the fine lines between the 1 to 8 that's on the ranking list. That the higher ranked players just do it more so week in, week out.
It was nice. It was nice at the end of that match, though, with Mark Allen, to see you getting on and having a chat with him. You know, at the end, that was quite nice.
Yeah, like I say, I mean, me and Mark are really good friends, and he just asked me how I've been getting on, obviously during the lockdown, and he said that I'd gone toe to toe with him early on, and like Scott said, if I was to win that first frame, it may have had a completely different upset on the game.
Yeah.
But playing snooker for the amount of years that I have, I know full well that one ball can change so much.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
And
you would have grown in confidence from that first frame, and I thought you was going to get it. In fairness.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I mean, the red that Mark potted from that I played a really good safety swinging the white round, and unfortunately, I clipped the brown, which allowed Mark to obviously get his hand on the table, and he potted a fantastic long red and screwed right back for yellow or brown, I think. And then I was always on the back foot from that moment.
Yeah. You were talking there, Jimmy, about always learning, and we see that with John Higgins, because John has just brought his tip closer to the white before he starts addressing the cue ball, and he knows we all know what that did for him a couple of weeks ago at the Players' Championship. He was absolutely superb. So you are always learning at this game, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's like as well, I mean, I think John's just had a new titanium ferrule fitted as well, which will strike the ball a lot differently. It'll feel a lot more solid. There won't be as much deflection as he strikes the ball. And like John said in that post-match interview as well, he's as high as he's been up in the rankings, he's been #1 world champion. That's probably the best week that he's ever had.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
I mean, for any player who sort of keeps Mark Selby in his chair and only scores 7 points is just unbelievable.
That is astonishing. And the thing is, how hard it is from what we know about the inside the game. But you put players like John Higgins, Mark Williams, Ronnie O'Sullivan. How do they keep the stamina going at that age and keep the standard that high, consistent?
I just think that I don't know. I mean, I suppose it's like anyone. If you go to the gym every day and then you go for a run, you find yourself achieving that little bit more each day goes by. And I think that they just strive on obviously winning games and the fact that they get a buzz out of just playing.
Yeah, and the other thing is, how do they find the time for practice as well? It's not like they obviously, I know they obviously need it, but they've got families too, right? So how do they interact the two?
Yeah, I mean they've got families, but I think because they're that high up in the game, and I think any snooker player, whether you're #1 in the world or whether you're 128 or whether you're an amateur going to Q school, if you want to make a career of it, you've got to treat it as a job.
Yeah.
And you can't just be going in the club for 2 hours a day thinking, "Oh, that'll do. I'll keep my arm going." Because you know yourself, if you go to work, chances are a minimum shift that you would do would be 8 or 10 hours.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
realistically, as an apprentice, if you're an apprentice only doing 2 hours and you've got an apprentice that's doing 8 hours, at the end of that 4 years, he's going to be better qualified in every department than one that's put the less amount of time in.
Yeah.
But managing it with obviously family, I think that obviously you've got to have a strong family and you've got to have a really good support network around you. And without that, then I think despite how much talent you've got, you just fall flat on your knees, really.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Are you finding it a struggle at the moment, Jamie, with that side of things? I know we talked about it earlier, but do you find it a constant, are you facing an uphill battle?
What, with practice or
with
just
practice,
life in general?
just on the tour itself or on the Q school or?
Yeah, I mean, I know that obviously the only way back onto the tour for me was potentially if I was to get if I got one of these top up spots in the World Championships and qualified for the Crucible, then I'm under the impression that I think if you qualify for the Crucible like Jordan Brown did last year, you get
you're on the tour.
Yeah. So that's one way back on for me. But then the other way is obviously only Q school. So the hardest thing for me going to Q School, and you hear it from Ronnie and you hear it from all the other players playing the World Championships over 17 days. It's a marathon. It's tiring. It's a long battle. And they're only playing one best of 19, best of 25 over 2 or 3 days. When you go to Q School, you could be playing 2, maybe 3 matches a day and over a 2-week period. Now, if you're successful in obviously getting to the semi-finals, then yeah, you're only there for 4 or 5 days. But if you're there for the whole time, I mean, last year I played one final match and I didn't come off the table till 3:10 in the morning.
Oh,
wow.
And my first match that day was 9 a.m.
So
it's nasty, isn't it? It's brutal.
So it's like I had a game at 9, then I had one at 5, and then I was due to go on again after that, I think 9 o'clock. But because of the knock-on effect of games that had obviously overrun, I didn't get on till the early hours of the morning.
Wow,
And
that's crazy.
And you're there, and you're playing for your livelihood. I mean, it's difficult, and like I say, you're not even guaranteed to obviously get a spot from Q School. But like you say, like with the support and stuff, I've got the support from my mum and my dad, and obviously a few other family members. But the thing that I've struggled with sort of off the table personally, after sort of like losing my wife, was like with the children growing up without a mum, and sort of that you need your mum or your dad around, and when I'm away at competitions and things like that, and it has had like a psychological effect on them.
Yeah, of course.
Whereas like every young child, sort of, they do want the mum around.
Of course, yeah.
And no, it's been tough. It has been hard, but we get on with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Full credit to you, Jamie. Well done to you.
Well done, Jamie. Well done.
Yeah, well, it's like I say to everyone else, I don't deserve a medal. I've got 2 children, I'm a dad, and I just do what's expected of me, like every dad should, really.
Well, a lot of people, I mean, the reason I say commendable is because a lot of people in that position, you lose a partner and you've got the children to bring up, would have completely just given up on any other sort of thing. They would have gone into their own sort of shell, wouldn't they, sort of thing? Yeah,
I mean, well, initially, I mean, that sort of did happen, and I mean, there is, I mean, obviously, I don't really sort of go into it in great detail, and there's a lot of players on the tour that sort of don't really know the full background, but when my wife was poorly, it was sort of like, I mean, it's 5 years now, so sort of for the last 8 years, all I've known is sort of being at home caring for her. Not really picked up my cue, and certainly for sort of like the last 14, 15 months that she was alive, I did not play. My cue was literally in the corner of the room, and I did not play. And coming back to my best friend Alan Taylor, he came to the funeral, and he said to me, he said, Jamie, he said, you need something in life that's going to give you some sort of stability rather than just 2 kids. He said, and the only thing that you've ever known is snooker. Yeah. And he says, even if it means just going to the club, having an hour here or there, then do it for yourself. And anyway, he came back to my house. We had a few drinks, had a takeaway, and then we got onto the conversation about Q School. And he was like, Q School, just do it. And bear in mind that Q School was literally 5 weeks after Leanne had passed away. I got my entry fee in like 5 minutes before deadline, and I went to Q School, paid my £1,000, and Alan said to me, he was like, "You've just lost the best part of your life. What's £1,000?" And I was like, "Yeah, but Alan, it's £1,000, and I've got 2 kids to look after." And he was like, "It don't matter, just do it." And I went to Q School, not picking my cue up for 15 months. I had a week's practice at Ray Edmonds Snooker Club before I went to Q School, and I qualified.
Oh, wow.
Excellent.
So, like, when you go back to looking at the things like you say, like what Ronnie says about amateurs and downs, or I'd have to lose my arm and my leg and stuff like that. Well, I look at what I achieved in the game, pretty much similar to what Ronnie did, not playing for a year and then winning the World Championships. Because for me to qualify through Q School at that time, Q School was my World Championships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But because I'm a lower ranked player, I don't get recognised. That's why I say people don't know that story. They don't know that background. But because Ronnie's won, four world titles before he did that?
Yeah, 4.
Yeah.
He's at the top of the game where everyone's like, oh, Ronnie owes that. So
yeah. It's the media hype up though. It's what they do because of who he is, I guess. That's why.
Yeah, definitely.
But I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying that's right at all.
No.
You know?
But because, like I say, because you're lower ranked, you don't get recognised for anything like that. But in my own mind, despite what Ronnie's achieved in the game and how long he's been around, I feel that I've achieved just as much as what he has because of what I've gone through to actually get where I've got.
Absolutely. And I've recognised you, Jamie.
Yeah. We all have.
We all have. Yeah.
That must be because I'm the only player when I'm on TV that you have to wear your sunglasses for the glare.
You're sort of a bolder than carnation of Willie Thorne then.
I'll remember that, Scott. Next time I'm on the telly, I'll grow a tash just for you.
Yes, I have to admit my loyalties were a bit split last week because obviously I knew you were coming on, so I didn't want to be too ferocious in support of Mark Allen. I didn't want to offend you.
Oh no, not at all. I mean, like I said previously, me and Mark are really good friends, and I honour Mark. And to be honest, every time that there's an event on that I'm no longer involved in, Mark would be probably one of the first people that I would say that I'd like to see win it.
Yeah.
And I really hope for obviously Mark, his family, his dad, because he's had his own troubles on and off the table. But
yeah, of course.
This year's World Championship, I really hope that he lifts the title. I really do.
So do I. I mean, it would be just marvellous for us in Northern Ireland because you see when Jordan won the Welsh, our sports pages in Northern Ireland went absolutely mad for about a week.
Yeah, well, I mean, the follow of people in Northern Ireland, it's unbelievable. I mean, the atmosphere when I played over there, we played at the waterfront, and then we played at the Titanic Hall, I think it was.
The Titanic Exhibition Centre in Belfast, yes.
Exhibition Centre, yeah, that's where it was first, and then the waterfront.
Yeah.
But I mean, the waterfront as a venue, when that's packed out, oh wow!
That's
true. And like I say, the people in Northern Ireland.
I went to the final there in 2017, actually, when Williams won it against Bingtown. It was tremendous. The atmosphere was tremendous.
Yeah. Well, what I like about obviously at the waterfront as well is like obviously because it's tiered seating and balconies. It's one of the best venues on the tour.
Yeah. Well, that's that was very interesting interview, Jamie.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I was just going to say thanks for coming on, but I think Mike's got some snap questions for you, quick fire questions.
Okay.
I hope you do better than Gareth as well. He was a little,
Come on. I did say to him actually. Did he read you about it, Jamie? When he said he couldn't build a paper aeroplane, he actually agreed with you.
I've not I've not actually spoken to him this week after the interview.
He actually agreed. He actually says, "Yeah, I won't trust myself either."
Really?
But he works for Airbus, not Boeing's. He said,
Yeah,
Airbus.
Yeah, well, that's just me getting it wrong.
He's a good guy, though, Gareth.
Nice guy. It's a shame, really, that I mean, like I say, if he was earning money out of the game, chances are he'd still be at it. But
yeah,
there comes that time in your life where you sort of like, I think he's just moved into a new house with his girlfriend that he's been renovating.
Yeah, he was telling us that.
If you're not winning money at snooker, then you can't have that lifestyle, can you?
No.
And he was also saying, unfortunately, his partner's got long COVID, so that's not good stuff at the moment.
Yeah, I know that she did have it, but I didn't realise that she was still suffering.
Yeah.
Oh, well, if he's listening...
Well, we wish her well, and
Gareth and his missus.
She gets better. Yeah, hopefully she doesn't suffer too much longer.
Yeah.
Hopefully not. So, Mike, you got any questions for Jamie?
Yeah, I got 4. So what's the best song on your iPod?
It's probably a bit cheesy, but
okay.
I like it. I use it for my granddad, but "Simply the Best" by Tina Turner.
Oh yeah, okay, that's a good tune.
That was his favourite song.
All right.
Yeah.
If you could have a conversation with anyone, past or present, who would it be?
My wife.
Okay. The most expensive thing you've broken?
Oh dear.
Oh God.
A key?
Probably. No, I've never broken a queue.
Have you ever broken a tip?
No.
No.
I can't really answer that.
Okay. Your go-to beer brand?
I would have to say, Guinness.
Guinness. All right. And the last one, after snooker, what is the next game you spent the most time playing?
Probably golf.
Oh, very good. Nice.
That's interesting because a lot of snooker players do play golf.
Yeah. I used to play quite a lot, but during my second season when I was on the tour, coming towards the back end of the season, I played in a charity football match with my brother. My brother used to play professional level, and he's part of the management team at Grimsby.
Oh, okay.
So we played a charity football match, all these ex-professionals, and they never had a goalkeeper, so I decided to go in goal, but I damaged my rotary cuff, and I ended up playing 6 weeks of the season in a sling.
Oh dear.
So I don't play as much golf now because obviously I struggle with my shoulder sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Very good.
Well, thank you very much, Jamie, for coming on. That was a really good interview. Thank you very much. I've got to say thank you for your time as well, because I know it's difficult with the children and stuff.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. And like I said to you obviously when I messaged you, if you do ever do a podcast and you're looking at like future stars of the game, then I've asked Freddie, and he said that he's more than happy to come on and answer some of your questions as well.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. We'll get him on playing them trick shots.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
My personal favourite was when you got your daughter laying down on the table and the chalk in the mouth, and you get the white off her mouth. Yeah. That was great. But it was funny because she wouldn't stay there, would she? He was like, "No, come on."
Yeah, well, I think basically that was the early part of lockdown, and it was when obviously the World Championship should have taken place in April but got postponed. Yeah, so I thought to myself, oh well, I'll keep a few of my friends and snooker fans entertained and do a few of these trick shots online. So
how did you learn how to get to do them? Was it like you say just online, or did you teaching them?
No, certainly the one with my daughter and the chalk, that was just sort of like off the cuff. It was just like I said, "Oh, just try this one," and he did it. But no, it's just like trick shots that I've learned over time, and he likes playing the game and learning, so he found it fascinating, really.
Yeah. And here's another, just a quick one from you, Jamie, just because we were talking about it the other day. The World Championships, can you sort of foresee the World Championship leaving Sheffield?
I personally don't think it will, no.
Good man.
I
Good
think
man.
Sheffield is the home of the World Championships. It always will be. And despite, obviously, the Far East and sponsorships coming through, I think the only thing that will take it from Sheffield out to China, and that will be if the tour splits like the darts, where the players decide that they want to play for more money.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think Barry Hearn does a fantastic job.
He does.
I think he does everything in the best interest of the players, the promotion of the game, and I think that Barry will have all the answers up his sleeve ready to throw back at them if they chose to do that.
Yeah.
Good answer.
There we go. Yeah. That's answered that topic question, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mike's
Mike's
good at his topic questions.
Yeah, but that's my personal opinion anyway.
Yeah.
But no, in all honesty, I don't think it would have ever. Certainly for the fans and the viewers, another tournament out in China, it just wouldn't feel like a proper World Championship.
No, of course it wouldn't. Of course it wouldn't.
And we had that other question, didn't we, guys, from Aaron saying, why is snooker fading? Is there any way of making it more attractive in the UK or for people to start playing?
Well, that's one thing that I was, when we was on about like youngsters coming through the game. I mean, years ago, they used to do like, I can't remember what the name of it was, but it was basically Sean Murphy, Ali Carter, Dave Gilbert, David John, and it was like a scheme for younger players.
Yeah, like young kids on the beers or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and I think that would be a good thing for like younger players to sort of, like I say, to earn that craft and earn that apprenticeship, and like maybe sort of if you had like 7 or 8 players and sort of like get somebody like Ding on board with an academy. And make a base for them where they can like spend a weekend learning different things about the game and like media training and things like that. Because the minute you get on the tour and you're a professional sportsman, the tabloids and people don't see how long you've actually been on the tour, and they fire all these questions at you. And you do have to be careful what you say. And social media now can change things in so many different ways to put a bad light on things.
Yeah.
But I think coming forward as a youngster, I think that would be a good thing to have. But certainly in the UK as well, and I mean, you'll have seen it yourself down, obviously, where you are, Graham. Probably one of my best places in the country, Burton-on-Trent, because that's where I qualified.
I was going to say, but Jamie, you'll have to come over for a game with us sometime.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Yeah.
But like I say, it's difficult because a lot of clubs, I mean, I don't know how it's going to be affected because of all this lockdown, but I can only imagine that more clubs are going to close.
That's the thing, isn't it?
I mean, when I first started playing in Grimsby, there was probably 5 or 6 different snooker clubs that you could go to. And now there's only 2.
Well, we're the same age, Jamie, of course. We could have gone to school virtually together. Right. Because I'm the 20th of March, 84. So.
Oh, right, yeah.
Quite linked in. I remember going to Jeff Cundy's snooker centre.
Yeah, Jeff.
Jeff was a great guy. Matthew Couch, of course.
Yeah, well, Jeff sold his club and so because Matthew Couch, he had a club called Cottage Beck.
That's it, Talbot Road, something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's Talbot.
but they closed. Jeff sold up, and then Jeff moved over to Grimsby and started playing at the club where I'm playing now. So when obviously I was on the tour, it was always good because we'd practice in a three. There'd be like me, Jeff, and Stuart.
Yeah.
Of course,
and we'd just do like alternate days. It was good practice.
Yeah, I remember them guys. Stuart Story come down to these club in Scunthorpe.
Yeah,
and,
that's right. Yeah.
he had a pint there. It was lovely. It was great.
Yeah,
Good time.
yeah.
Really good times, Jamie, wasn't it? It was really good times.
Oh, it was brilliant. I mean, I can remember being as a child when my dad used to take me to the club, and the club at Ray Edmonds, where I originally played, they had 27 tables, and if you'd not booked a table and you walked in the snooker club, it was like just walking into a mist of smoke towards the bar, asking for a table. And you literally, the chances was that you would have to sit and wait for an hour before one become available.
Yeah, that was like that was the same thing.
Yeah, and like now you can probably walk into the club, and I mean it's a bit easier for me now, but obviously being on the tour and stuff, I've obviously got my own table in the club. But when you're practicing over 5 or 6 hours, you're lucky if there's more than sort of 10 tables being played on.
Yeah, that's right. It's gone really down, hasn't it? Like
it has.
The club I go to only has 3 tables upstairs. They've only got enough the funding. They've only got enough free tables. But there's another club I know in Swadlincote. I don't know if you might have heard of Swad.
Yeah.
They have a club where they've got loads of tables downstairs and upstairs, but it's £6 an hour. It's ridiculous. And we tried to tell the guy, you've got to reduce the price to get people in. He's like, no, this is my club. I do it this way. I was like, all right, there's a club down the road that does like £1. Well, it's like £1.20 for an hour or something. And I'm thinking, well, I'm going to take that offer. You know what I mean?
Well, one of the clubs around there here, what they generally do is, if you play for 2 hours, you get a third hour free.
Oh, that's good.
And I think it's about £5 an hour. But if you're only paying £10 for 3 hours snooker, that's reasonable, isn't it?
Yeah. Have you ever played in Northern Ireland or Vancouver?
I've never been to Vancouver, but Northern Ireland I've played. Obviously, when I played Northern Ireland Open out there, I've never played in any of the clubs. But I got an invite the other day because the Atrium Club, where Mark and Jordan play from, they're running a pro-am in July.
Yeah.
So chances are, if I'm able to travel, I'll be over in Ireland for 3 or 4 days.
There you go, Scott. There you go.
If I'm not sinking balls, I'll certainly be sinking a few Guinnesses, Scott.
Yeah, well, I'll try and twist my father's arm and see if we're allowed, of course, under present circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that obviously you'd be welcome with open arms. I mean, Mark and Jordan, and like I say, there's a lot of other professionals that'll be there.
Joe will probably be there, will he? Joe Sweal.
Who, sorry?
Joe Sweal.
Yeah, Joe will be there.
He'll be getting the first round of semi-finalist, of course.
Oh, he's a great player, great character. He'll be getting the first lot of Guinnesses in.
Probably. Right, Mark can knock a bit back, to be fair.
He can.
Jamie, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Marvellous. Thank you very much indeed, Jamie.
Hey, Jamie.
Not a problem. And like I say, it's been an honour to obviously have the invitation to come on board. And I hope that the remainder of the podcasts that you continue to do are a success.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
If you know any connections and players to throw our way, that would be great.
That'd be great, yes.
Yeah, well, there's Alan Taylor, there's Stuart Carrington. I know that they're always willing to sort of speak up.
Yeah.
Stuart obviously from here, I think he'd be more than happy to do like a mini interview. He was on the phone to World Snooker yesterday for about an hour and a half doing an interview. So
yeah, Mark Allen for Scott, of course. He'd love that.
Yeah, well, like I say, I've got Mark's contact, so if you want me to sort of ask him, I'm sure that he'd be willing to as well around his current arrangements.
Yeah.
Perfect.
More the merrier, eh, Scott?
Yeah, good man.
That's right. That's the way. All right, mate. Well, I won't keep you any longer with your kids and stuff, but I'll see you soon.
No, that's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Keep in touch, man.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Wow, that went well.
Wonderful.
Wow, we went an hour and what, 20 minutes?
Yeah,
wonderful stuff.
Yeah, he was very
wonderful. So have we got any, just before we close, Mike, have we got any latest from the Pro Series at the moment?
We'll take a look. So, I was impressed with his candid answers on the lower ranks.
Yes.
You know, we've kind of wondered, and I was impressed with his very blunt assessment.
Sorry, I wandered off at one point, but
no, don't worry about it. If you've got to go, it's fine. So have we got any latest from the series, Mike?
Yeah, I'm just bringing up the scoreboard as we speak.
Oh man, I'm not.
So
Yeah.
Okay, so there's one live match going on currently. It's Gerald Green and Dwayne Jones. It's 1-1. Barry Hawkins, Jamie Robertson 2, Barry Hawkins 0.
Yeah.
Ersenbach 2, Ajab 0.
Yeah.
Walden 2, Paul Davidson 0. And then there's 4 matches that's about to start at 8 o'clock. Green versus,
by the way,
Hawkins versus Walden, Robertson versus Ajab, and Nelson Baker versus Jones.
Yeah.
The last match.
I just need to mention something. We've had a comment from Gareth Allen, and he had a question for Jamie Barrett. He said, obviously I didn't see it at the time, but he answered it anyway. If you had to pick one drink for the road, what would it be? And Jamie said, Corona. And he spelt it with about 8 A's at the end of it.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
What does the group table look like? What does the group D table look like?
I don't have the group table.
Yeah, Barry Hawkins, like I said, is leading it with 15 points. Ricky Roldan is second with 12. And then there's a big gap to Jimmy Robertson with 6. Ersenbacher with 6. Gerard Green with 6. Ajabi with 6. Dwayne Jones with 3. And Paul Davidson at the bottom with 3.
Yeah, so Hawkins and Walton going through to the next stage then?
Very much likely, yeah. Very much like it. Done well there, Ricky Walden. I need to get through that group.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah. He's done very well to get through Hawkins and to finish second above Ersenbacher.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very well indeed. Anyway, guys, well, thank you very much for this evening.
Yep, very good indeed.
That's the longest episode ever, with about 7 hours on it. That was ever brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Well, thank you to Jamie Barrett, and thank you to Gaz Allen for watching in. Thank you to Chris Henry for yesterday. And I think I'm not sure if Scott's on his own tomorrow. If I'm available, I'm not sure yet, but we'll do that in due course.
Yep, perfect. Sounds good, fellas.
All right.
I know.
Good night,
Good night, everybody.